Assalamualaikum, my name is FATIN AMIRAH binti KHAIREL ANUAR. So for the introduction part, the first thing that we need to look at is what is the definition of money demand. Money demand reflects households and companies' desire to save asset in a form that can be easily traded for the items and services. The demand for money is affected by income, interest rates and whether the individual choose to retain cash, which is money, or illiquid asset. And then by referring to the Keynesian theory, there are three important motifs of the money demand, which are the transaction motive, precautionary motive, and the speculative motive. And then based on the two articles that we reference, the main issue that we can conclude here is the during widespread of pandemic COVID-19, how money demand growth in Malaysia.
Assalamualaikum, my name is SHARIFAH binti SYED. I would like to explain about the impacts of COVID-19 towards money demand for active money balance. As we know, COVID-19 affect our country's economy. Because of pandemic, all of the industry have to shut down and businesses suffered loss. They can't afford to pay the employees' salary. It is led to significant unemployment rate, whereby the rate rose from 3.3% to 3.9% on March 2020. This is because of the implementation of MCO on 18 March. The unemployment rate keep on increasing to 5% on April 2020 and 5.3% on May 2020. The increasing of unemployment rate led to decreasing of income. Income is an important component to people to live their daily lives, such as to spend for necessity goods for everyday consumption. Besides unemployed individuals suffer income losses, employed individuals also suffer because they had their salary cut. They have to accept to be paid the low salary because businesses have to cut costs due to the losses suffered during MCO. They suffer income losses, this will affect on their spending. It is causes the money demand to decrease because people hold money less than it should be, which means the lack of cash as well as cash in the bank. Hence, they have to minimize their expenditure. Besides that, more than half of Malaysia do not have a plan for a financial emergency, which means they don't have savings for emergency situation for at least 3 months. It causes the reduction of money demand in terms of transaction and precautionary motive, which is necessities goods and service such as food and medicine. Besides the issue occur that affect money demand, government took an initiative to help people by introduce Prihatin Rakyat package of 250 billion. The government provide a one-off cash payout between 200 to 1,600 to the household and single person. Next, the government introduced an additional economic stimulus package focused at supporting small and medium enterprise and micro businesses. The government announced a wage subsidy program whereby employers receive a subsidy for each local employees that earn less than 4,000 per month for 3 months. The amount of subsidy per month is depend on the number of local employees employed by a business. The amount for each employee is between 600 to 1,200. In addition, the government also bear the cost of discounting electricity bills amounting to 662 million for 6 months. Government at 600 per month for 6 months were given to employees who are required to take unpaid leave. Besides, the government also announced the exemption of Tadika Perpaduan and Taska Genius Perpaduan fees from March to June. It helps the parents that affected by income losses. Next, government provides special allowance to medical staff amounting 400 per month. Besides the essential needs such as food worried many people, tax payment also worried many people. Therefore, individuals were allowed to defer payment of tax. Other than that, government also introduced permit assistance package to improve previous initiative so that everyone not left behind. Government give 500 and 300 one-off provision to healthcare frontliners and other frontliners respectively. BPN 2.0 also provided by government after introduced last year. The aid is between 300 to 150.
Assalamualaikum, my name is SITI MAHIRAH ATHIRAH binti AMREL. Okay, today I will discuss about solution for this issue as economic student. In my opinion, government must provide sufficient money, or we call it as incentive, to employers and employees as well. This is to avoid the problem of unemployment, which is causes the demand of money decrease and income also decrease during COVID-19. So with this incentive, income of money will become increase again, later causing an increase in demand of money as well. Secondly, I think Government should give priority to workers to get vaccinated first. Vaccination can lower the risk of COVID-19 infection because we can strengthen our antibodies after being vaccinated. Then, employers still can run the business as usual, and the employees also can do their jobs but have to follow SOP as well. Lastly, I think government should encourage employers to do work from home. If employees are unable to work online during COVID-19, then they must try to find side income such as selling food or being rider like Foodpanda and GrabFood because these jobs are needed during pandemic.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nuraini binti A.AZMAN and I will present the second issue, which is effect COVID-19 on speculative motive in money demand. In order to curb this widespread virus, Malaysian government decided to implement movement control order. But the consequence of that decision is Malaysian economic growth had suddenly decreased started from late 2019 until 2020 by 2.9% rapidly. The study also showed that 46.6% of self-employed workers had lost their job. Meanwhile, self-employed workers who still have a job has faced reduction in their income, which 35.5% of them reported a drop in their income of more than 90%. Even the highest income level, T20, reduced their expenditure by 59% in order to minimize the cash outflow, followed by M40 and B40, which reduced by 48% and 41% respectively. In total, Malaysian household expenditure has decreased by 48% in average. The effect of reducing household expenditure is that the gross domestic product also decreased, which leads to less demand of money. Even though people need more money to fulfill their needs during this pandemic, but in order to reduce the cost of living, people try to avoid from applying loan due to disability to repay the debt because of the short in income. So it contributes to less demand of money that lead to negative economic growth, or known as recession. Next, I will explain about the solution on the issue from the government perspective. In order to solve this issue, there are a few initiatives taken by government and Bank Negara Malaysia to encourage people to apply for loan so that the money demand will also increase and lead to positive economic growth. The first initiative is Bank Negara Malaysia decides to reduce the overnight policy rate, or known as OPR, until 1.75%, whereby the lower the OPR, the lower the interest rate for loan, or known as base rate, BR. So, government encourage people to apply for loan in order to increase the expenditure in daily life so that our economy can speedily recover. Next, with cooperation of bank, government also take initiative to give moratorium for 6 months to everyone, especially to the small business owner, which means they are given 6 months to postpone their payment of debt. The purpose is to help lessen their burden so that they can reduce their cost of living. With this moratorium, the number of people who apply for loan increase because they can fulfill their needs during these challenging circumstances using that money. They are resulting in a lot of transactions occurred that contribute to economic growth. Lastly, government also take initiative to provide stamp duty exemption to encourage people to own a house. People will jump to this gold opportunity to apply for loan in order to buy property because the exemption of stamp duty will reduce the cost of borrowing, which giving benefit to the borrower to own an asset without paying more. By all these initiatives taken, it will bring our economy to the optimum level.
So moving on to the next part, which is the solution from the student's perspective regarding the first issue. The first solution that can be done is everyone, regardless of age, needs to be sensitive to all the economic changes that took place in our country. This is because by knowing about the real situation of our economy, we can think and be vigilant in the face of economic conflicts that befall the country and ourselves. When our government announced to lower down the overnight policy rate OPR, don't think and assume that we are still underage, especially for the teenagers and the youngsters, to just ignore this matter, because we need to be more knowledgeable so that the knowledge that we have can help people around us. Second, Any commercial bank should increase their promotion for loans to help more households and business firms to find out about the interest rate reduction that offered by banks. This is like a golden opportunity for business companies to continue their business without being plagued by financial problems as a major obstacle, and as well as for the households, which is the households, they can get on their life using the amount of money that they borrow from the banks.
In conclusion, the role of government is very important to ensure that these two issues can be fully resolved. As we know, the demand of money is very important to our economy because this money can be used for three motives, namely transaction motive, for example, to pay our expenses. And the second one is precautionary motive, for use the money in emergency situation. And lastly, the third one is speculative motive, to buy financial asset. Lastly, I hope everyone still has enough income to cover the current expenses during COVID-19. I also hope everyone plays their role very well to curb the problem of declining demand for money.